A movie that I don't hear people talking about enough that I just watched is The Ugly Stepsister. And oh my God, I have to tell you guys about this movie if you haven't seen it. So let's go. The Ugly Stepsister stars Leah Mirren. He is Sophie Loch Ness and is directed by Emily Blichfeld. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. We're going to review The Ugly Stepsister. I did hear some buzz about this movie from a few places. One movie that I often heard this compared to was The Substance. As a matter of fact, shout out to my buddy Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews. He posted on his socials that this was better than The Substance. I think he posted that. I'm not sure. And I was like, oh boy, do I need to see this now, because The Substance was my favorite movie of last year. So is this better than The Substance? I don't know. It's amazing. It's really amazing. It's hard for me to just like hard and fast say this is better than The Substance. They're two very different movies, but they both deal with similar themes. And this just happens to be sort of a retelling of Cinderella told from a different angle. You know, the point of view of actually one of the quote-unquote ugly stepsisters. And one thing that really tickled my fancy was that this is a foreign film. This is a Norwegian film, and man, I always jump at the chance, and I really love when foreign films start kind of making a buzz over here in the States. That just means that they're so good and so undeniable that we have to take notice, and I can completely understand. But also, before we jump into the plot, one thing about foreign films that I absolutely love is just the unexpected. You know, it seems like directors in other countries, there's like no rules. There's like no limits to how far they will go in terms of like excess. I've used this word before, excess. And it feels like, especially these days, they do seem to kind of hold back in certain areas with movies. Not always, but I think that's the expectation when you're watching movies, you know, stateside these days. American films. But foreign films, like I said, there's no boundary. They will definitely cross boundaries to get, you know, the point across. And boy, does this movie do that with the subject matter in terms of nudity and just pushing buttons. This movie really does that. And this is, you know, like I said, a retelling of freaking Cinderella, which is a children's story. And that is kind of the plot of the movie. But again, it's from the point of view of Elvira, or Elvira, as she's called in the movie. She is our main character. She is the first thing that you see in this movie. You know, she's in this like horse and buggy at the beginning of the movie, and she's having these kind of like these fantasies. She has this mother that's just very demanding, who got married, you know, to this guy who has the daughter Agnes, who is the Cinderella type of the movie. But he dies. This is at the beginning of the movie. And so after he dies, the mother starts scrambling like, oh my God, what do we got to do? I got to get these daughters married. And the mother really crosses the line. She forces Elvira to actually, you know, get plastic surgery. And this is plastic surgery back in the, I'm guessing this is like the 1800s, something like that. It's a period piece, but it's not for the squeamish too. Like you'll see a scene where she's sitting in this chair and this orthopedic surgeon, you know, there's no like anesthetic, and he's pretty much using a chisel on her freaking nose. And just the reaction of the character is enough to sell it. You don't even need to show it. Although they do show stuff in this movie. Don't get me wrong, okay? It pretty much uses every tool in the cinematic tool belt. But throughout the movie, Elvira, she becomes obsessed kind of with, not kind of really, with beauty and winning over Prince Charming. One observation about this movie too is that every character has layers. Every character has a good side and a bad side. And what I mean by that is there are times in this movie where you are going to be sort of rooting for Elvira. And then there are other times where you're like, she's not the best person. And I think it's just because of her past and her upbringing, and all of that has led her to what she has become as a person. But even when you look at Agnes, the Cinderella type character, she's not perfect. She's supposedly a virgin, And I won't go into any like spoilers to whether she is or not, but I'll just say they do play around with different sides of that character. And there are moments where you might say, hey, she's just human. She's not like squeaky clean, right? And she's got her own ulterior motives. They do follow a lot of the beats of the Cinderella story, of course, with the slipper and all that. But it's all from kind of a different angle. This is a body horror movie through and through as well, but it's just very patient. It's a slow burn, and it leans more on story than it does on shock value. But the shock value is definitely there. You just have to be patient for it. But it's definitely worth the wait. You do get caught up in the actual characters of this movie. Many of the characters just have a lot of deep layers to them. I think to better understand who Elvira is as a character, you have to look at her mother and how selfish the mother is, you know, in that when the father passes away, she doesn't even give him a proper burial. She lets the guy just lay around and rotting. And it's quite inhumane. But the young actress Leah Mirren, who plays Elvira, she is really amazing. And this is an actor that really has to give herself over to the role and be in a lot of uncomfortable scenes. There are quite a few scenes, especially in the last act, that are really not for the squeamish. If you want to compare this to how crazy The Substance gets, this goes in that route as well, just in a different way. But you'll know what I mean when you watch it. It's definitely got some shock value. There were moments where I wanted to like look away from the screen. I was like, oh my God. I'll just say Gollum, Lord of the Rings, okay? That's all I'll say. There's a moment in this movie that definitely reminds me of Gollum. But I absolutely loved this movie. I loved the themes that it explored. I loved how it dealt with a classic fairy tale from a different angle. Sort of reminded me of a very hard R-rated version of what Wicked did. You know how Wicked chose to give the point of view of the villain, you know, the witch. This gives the point of view of the stepsister. And she's quite mesmerizing. And you're going to go through just a whirlwind of emotions with this movie. Like I said, there's going to be times where you feel for her. And then there's times where you're like frustrated with her, with what she's doing. And then there are times where you're like, oh my God, there's no turning back. It's just way too far gone now. So I don't know if this movie's still in theaters. I know it is coming to Shudder. It is a Shudder production. So definitely check out The Ugly Stepsister, however you do it. I can't recommend this movie enough. It might still be in theaters, so I would definitely go check it out. But boy, does it have some nice shock value. And it's just, you know, it's great variety. It's one of my favorite movies of the year for sure. I think the only thing that beats this movie this year so far for me is Sinners. I'm giving this a high, super high purchase worthy. I want to know your thoughts on this movie. You will not be able to get it out of your head after you watch it. It is something. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my socials, support me on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me a coffee. You know, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and rum them out.